There we go. There we go. Now I'm not on mute. It wouldn't be a Mattie stream if I didn't goof up the mute just a little bit. How's everyone doing? It's been quite a long time. God, have I streamed from my new place yet? I don't remember. If I have, it's only been like a time or two. Let me catch up on the chat real quick before we hop into some things. Jonathan Ortiz is here. Hello, hello. Gohan646, how's it going? Love the DCAU. I love the DCAU too, as you could tell by my lovely Batman Adventures poster that I have back here. Bought that off eBay not too long ago. Finally got it framed and up on the wall, and I fucking love it. I want to have more stuff up there in the background, but I also don't want to, we don't have a headboard for the bed, so I don't want to accidentally bump the wall and have stuff fall on us in our sleep. So we'll see how it goes. But for now, we got Batman Adventures, we got a Dada cat. You can't go wrong with that. Let's see, where were we? Lieutenant, who are you? What's going on? Not much. We're reading magazines today. We might even play a little bit of Sonic the Hedgehog. I don't know. The poll got kind of close on Twitter. I think it was 50-50 still when I set this up. So I just went with what I want to do first and foremost. I feel like the comic magazines are a bit more towards the channel's purview, I would say. Who doesn't on this channel? No fun allowed, only editing. Well, I will have you know that I don't do the editing. That's all James. So I'm gonna have fun while James edits. Did y'all see the trailer for the upcoming video? That looks so fucking slick. I haven't seen the video itself yet. It's not done, but the trailer has me hyped. Let's see. I'm getting a vape. Oh, Wowie's here. Hello, Wowie. I'm getting a vape ad. Hold up. Or anti-vape ad. No vapes allowed. True. Hi, Danny. Hello. Ooh, does Danny vape? Do we know? Hey, Watchtower Database crew and chat. It keeps scrolling the chat while I'm trying to read. Hey, Watchtower Database crew and chat, how's it going? So I'm guessing these streams are going to be a thing again. I'm hoping to do more of these soon. It has been a struggle to try to nail down a consistent day off for me. We're really understaffed at work, and I'm kind of at the point where I want to leave there myself and get a different job, just because of a lot of mental health things going on for me. And so, if that happens and I'm able to set up a consistent off day, then hopefully these will be a more often thing. But if not, I'll try to slip these in on whatever off days I have. It's just the thing is, I feel like doing the book club, it needs to be a consistent day just so people are able to, show up consistently. They know when it is, they know what time it's going to be, what day, etc., and they're not going to miss out on part of the story that they had already invested an hour or two into the week beforehand. But until I can get a consistent off day, it's just variety streams for me. Whenever I can fit them in. Holy shit, I just noticed the channel is at 97K. 97K? That can't be right. Maybe 87K. Are we at 97K? If we passed 90, James didn't tell me. No, we're at 87.2K. That might have been a typo. God, I wish we were at 97K. Maybe more people would have watched the multiverse video. If you haven't watched the multiverse video, do that. Leave here and go do that. That's a much better use of your time. This is so cool. I've never done this before. Well, welcome aboard, Lieutenant. Who are you? I'm glad you're here. Let's see. Oh, hey, Delivery Blaze. How's it going? did I cut my hair? No, it's growing back out. I cut it for the multiverse video and the other 2 videos coming up after that. But then we said, Mattie, grow your hair back out, and I said, okay, to me. Let's see. I'm pretty quiet. Hold on. Here, is that better? I just turned up the microphone volume a little bit, so hopefully that works. The trailer was amazing. Hell yeah. Hey Mattie, I heard you would be doing this stream today. Looking forward to a fun time. Glad you're here. Let's see. Can't wait to see it. I'm marking my calendar. Yeah, that's coming out on my birthday, which is kind of funny because I'm in that video, but not a lot. So, you know, it's a birthday present to me just to see it. Am I doing okay? Yeah, I'm mostly doing fine. I know I just mentioned the mental health stuff at work. I don't know how much I want to get into it, but essentially, I had COVID for a while, and I stayed out of work as long as they felt was necessary, and you know, I even gave myself like the space of a day to like just a day that I was still feeling good, and not feverish in anything, and just to be sure that, you know, I wasn't going to bring it into the building or anything. And then after I got back into work, all of a sudden, a lot of people came down with COVID, and they're not blaming me for it or anything. You know, when I showed up, I was not feverish. I you know, went through all of our safety check protocols and stuff. So they're not blaming me for it, but I'm kind of blaming myself for it, and I'm feeling bad about it. It's very likely it was coincidence, but you know, real rough coincidence to happen. Let's see. But I already watched the multiverse video. Do I watch it again? If you would like to, go right ahead. Mattie reminds me of Neil Strauss. Who is Neil Strauss? I've never heard of that person. An American author. I do not know them, and so I don't know what the point of comparison could be, but looking at the guy, it doesn't look like the answer is the looks department. The only one who sees me as, yeah, I don't know. Let's see. I misread the 8 as a 9. My bad. That makes way more sense. I was about to be incredibly ecstatic that we were at 97,000, but you know, so it goes. It's a bit better, but I could still be louder. Okay, well then I'll turn it up even further. How about that? We're breaching into the yellow a little bit, I think, now. Let's see. Happy 30th. I'm not turning 30, I'm turning 31. I am turning 31. It's weird. First time to a Mattie stream. Buckle in for some chaotic hilarity, my friend. Sorry, man. Yeah, it's been a little rough one on you know, just current times and stuff, but it is what it is. Let's see. Turned 26 recently. Hell yeah, that was a fun year for me. Hope you have fun with yours. Okay, so I'm caught up with the chat, and as I said, we are gonna be looking at some. God, does my voice sound weird? I've been like, even though I'm over COVID, I've been dealing with congestion and a scratchy throat, and it's just been a bummer. But pop over onto this window. We're gonna be looking at some comic book magazines today. I've got a pretty decent collection here, but I think Wizard is probably the place to start. They were like the biggest comic magazine back in the day. For those of you who aren't aware, let me pull up a little bit of history on Wizard. Yeah, they started in 91, ended in 2011. So that's like 11 years ago now. It was a magazine about comic books published monthly in the United States by Wizard Entertainment. It included price guide as well as comic book, movie, anime, and collectors news, interviews, and previews. That's basically all you need to know. But so they started in the 90s, they ended in 2011, and they went digital for a little while, and then I think even the digital ended up going away after a little bit. But I have not a full collection of Wizard magazines, but a pretty decent collection. So now I have to ask y'all, what year do we want to look at in between 1991 and 2011? If y'all want to drop some suggestions in the chat, and I'll just go with whichever one looks like a fun year. Literally 20 in 2 months. Happy early birthday, Wowie. I forget that our birthdays are so close to each other, Danny. See, Wowie says 2008. Lieutenant Who Are You says 2006. I'm getting a 99, a 95. Let's 2008 sounds like it could be a fun year. Let's see, that's 2004. What was going on in 2008? Was that like... Okay, 2008 is the latest I have, so I don't have anything from 2009 to 2011. But yeah, let's go with 2008. Let's see, I've got January, February, March, April, May, and June. Let's go with June, because it's June now. What was going on in the world of comics 14 years ago? Oh, this is episode 200. Not episode. Issue 200. Can I get this on a full screen, maybe? Is there a way to do that? No? Okay, it just zooms in and out. Oh, 2008 was when the MCU started. That could be a lot of fun. Mattie does amazing things at 5'8". What do you mean? I'm not 5'8". What? 2008 was definitely not a fun year if you bought a house. Yeah, that's true. That's true. The Dark Knight and Brave and the Bold released that year. Ooh, that's true too. All right. Let's see. Right off the bat, we got an Iron Man video game tie-in ad. That's pretty fucking cool. Coming out May 2008.
Any ideas?
In air or on the ground, you are a one-man army. All right, here we go. We got a table of contents. What looks fun here? Number 46 has Stan Lee. 130 has an article on Bone. I guess 106 is on Tick Toys, maybe? I can't tell what page 120 is. 70 looks like Spider-Woman. Editor's letter, our favorite stories, great unfinished art pieces, 200 greatest comics of our history. That could be fun. Last Man Standing, art by Art Adams. Bendis Johns and Lee Q&A. That could be a fun time. My first Wizard cover. 50 events that rocked comics. Wizard's best art commissions. Wolverine, a visual evolution. Ultimate trivia quiz with an arrow pointing at Judge Dredd over here. Our favorite stuff, In Memoriam, Wizardrific, 20 most valuable comics from 1991 to now, and In the Beginning. Any of those sound like a fun time? How tall am I? I'm 6'3". I'm too tall. Is that the tick? It is the tick. The MCU has been kind of a mixed bag for me over the years, but it all started with 2008's Iron Man, and I still love that movie. The Iron Man movies are great. I wish that they had ended his arc with Iron Man 3 like they were, like the movie suggested they were doing. rather than keep putting him back in the suit. But so it goes. I have been 6'3" this whole time. That is correct. Let's see. So one person has suggested in the beginning. Where is that at? In the beginning is page 136. Okay. So we'll go to there. And then I'm thinking about looking at this Bendis, Johns, and Lee Q&A. That's sure to have some fun stuff in it, given how much people seem to despise both Bendis and Johns these days. In the beginning, page 136. What page number is this? This is 126. 127, 128, 129, 130, 131, 132, 133, 134, 135. Is it just a photo of issue number 1? Is that what in the beginning is? I think that's it. I think in the beginning was just great, beautiful, love it. Favorite part of the magazine. Good pick. I said Bendis in bold. You're about the same height as me? It's too tall. I gotta like duck under like shower heads and everything to even get my hair wet. I do recall Mattie dwarfing James a bit in the Silly Putty video. James is about as tall as me, but Ted is much shorter than both of us. But yeah, okay, so that was page 136. That was in the beginning. What page has the Bendis stuff? Page 32. Alright, so where is it? Page 32. Here we go. Brian Michael Bendis, Jeff Johns, and Jim Lee chat up comics' biggest events from the Wizard era and how they could collaborate in the future. Alright, I'm gonna get some more water real quick. I just ran out of water, so I'm gonna do that and then I'll read this. Penny, entertain the people. Like she didn't even move from her spot when I left the room. Penny, you gotta come say hello to everybody. It's okay. Are you ready? Say hello. Hello. Was that entertaining enough? Was she a good entertainer? Sit with me. It's okay. The people won't mind. Yeah, they're happy that you're here, Penny. You can't see her. She's right out of camera, but she is still here in my lap. She's gotten a lot more relaxed lately, and that's been pretty nice. Whatever happened to that 6'2" Jamaican dude who used to back up? I don't know what you're talking about. Used to back up? I don't... Mr. Marvel and Mr. DC. Mr. Worldwide. She did not do a little jig for us while you were waiting. That's disappointing, Penny. They were all counting on you. Many named their cat after the giant Penny from the Batcave. It's actually named after, she's named after the business that we found at her outside of. My fiance was working at this place called Henny Penny at the time, and it was I guess like coffee shop / kids art studio kind of thing. And she was a stray cat that was just hanging out outside there. There she is in the background. And we took her, and she became ours. A frequent collaborator. Are you talking Jay's Reviews? He's still around. We just haven't been doing as much collab lately because he's gotten through his DCAU retrospective. I just lost my own cat a year ago. Still miss her, but I can always get another one when I'm ready for one again. Yeah, that's always a bummer, losing an animal. I'm sorry to hear that. Okay. Anyway, aside from the official company bigwigs, when you think of the man at Marvel, it's likely you think of Brian Michael Bendis, responsible for Ultimate Spider-Man, New Avengers, and House of M. If it's DC, the man has got to be Jeff Johns, responsible for Infinite Crisis, Green Lantern, and JSA. And if you're looking for the man since Wizard's been around, the guy who's transcended comic companies, it's undoubtedly Jim Lee, Wildstorm editorial director and creative force behind everything from X-Men #1 to Wildcats to All-Star Batman and Robin. And so, in honor of our celebratory mood, we gathered this power trio on a conference call to look back at the industry since our magazine's 1991 birth, the dominant trends, and where we are today. You'd think this would be typical fodder for these creators, but we were pleasantly surprised at how much they relished this opportunity. You know, it's interesting, says Lee. I've talked to Brian many a time after hours at cons and stuff like that, but I've never really heard him talk about comics. Certainly not his early experience. I had no idea he'd worked in a retail store. Jeff and I see each other a lot more often, so it's like we're doing a panel. Yeah, panels we should do, replies Bendis. We should do these panels. I'd love to do these panels, says Johns. Glad to hear it, since there's a lot more to come. Boop, boop, boop. Any chance you could talk him into finishing his live-action superhero movie retrospective? He put it on permanent hiatus just when it was getting really good. I mean, I could hit him up, I guess. All-Star Batman and Robin. The only good issue in that trash was the final. I actually bought the trade for All-Star Batman and Robin just because I had a couple of the floppy issues and I wanted to get rid of them. So I bought the trade and it's sitting on my shelf, but I haven't read it yet. But, you know, I know a little bit about the backstory behind it. And it doesn't seem like the greatest thing ever. All right. So, Wizard opens up saying, a lot has changed in the comic book industry since 1991. How do each of you look back at that time? Let's see. Bendis says he thinks Jim should go first. Gosh, 91 was what girls you were with. Bendis, what are you talking about? Okay, Jim Lee says, that was the year X-Men #1 came out, so the industry was on fire. There was a palatable electricity to it. Sales had gone through the roof. So Uncanny X-Men, Marvel's best-selling book at the time, went from like 200,000 to 400,000 to 800,000, and then shot up to 7.7 million, which is what we saw on X-Men #1. This was really the beginning of the age of artists. A bunch of young artists were real popular at the time, and just their name attached to a book could help move copies. Perhaps you were one of them, Jim? Possibly. I'm trying to disassociate myself. Yeah, perhaps I was one of them. In 91, things were firing on all levels. I was definitely competing with Todd McFarlane and Rob Liefeld, trying to see who could sell more copies. That ran all the way from doing creative things like, oh, I'm gonna do this type of storyline where we finally reveal the one true fake origin of Wolverine, to, hey, I'm gonna have Spider-Man guest star, to, hey, let's do multiple copies. All three of us were pretty involved with the marketing of the books, so that's what was going on for me. Bendis says, well, in 1991, I was in 6th grade, and I remember... Hold up. Bendis is only 11 years older than me? Oh, that's weird. That's weird. What are you hawing, Wowie? I don't... Is Rob Liefeld the artist who can't draw feet properly? That is a common thing attributed to him. He does have a tendency to hide feet or draw them improperly, but he's gotten a good foot in here and there. He did bring Deadpool into the world after all. I feel like there was something with him and the creation of Deadpool that it was weird, but I can't remember the details, so I'm not gonna pontificate on them. Jim Lee's X-Men is still my favorite look for the X-Men, but then it was the one that was always the most iconic for me growing up. Yeah, no, this looks great. This is like ripped right out of the cartoon kind of look. I love it. Bendis was born in 1967. Is that right? Was he lying about being in 6th grade? $1967. Yeah. Why was he saying he was in 6th grade? Lee says, you bastard, then I was in 7th grade. Whatever. Editor's note. Sorry to say, but 6th grade for Bendis was in 1979. 7th grade for Lee was in 1977. Bendis says, no, seriously, I was in college and I was actually working in a comic book store. So I was working the retail angle of Jim's 7.7 million. It was bedlam for retailers, but you could feel the market about to pop. Also, I was making my first comic, Parts of a Whole, and I had just signed with Caliber Comics, so that was a very scary and exciting time for me. It was actually the same time I had met all of my Caliber buddies, which were David Mack, Mike Omin, Mark Andreyko, and Ed Brubaker, who's now working on as head writer on the Batman Cape Crusader show. So that's gonna be cool. I was just trying to find my voice as a comic book creator, which should have involved less drawing, but I didn't find that out for 10 years. Jim Lee says, this was pre-internet, so it's really interesting to hear Brian talk about it from a retailer's standpoint, because it was really a mania. There weren't message boards where you could get instantaneous feedback, so all you knew from our end was this stuff is selling a tremendous amount of copies. It just seemed like it was a geometric progression of love for the comic, because it did start from people really liking, for instance, Todd's work or Rob's work. Let's see. Jeff, what was your comic book experience in the early 90s? Bendis responds, yeah, how did you transition from porn to comics? I never knew. What are they talking about? Do I Google Jeff Johns porn now, or do I just assume that it was a bad joke? When is Cape Crusader coming out? I don't think we know for sure, but I think they said like early 2023. Wowie with the biddies. Bendis is currently 54. When is Batwheels coming out? Ooh, true. Do we know anything about Batwheels? Yo, there were leaks? Oh god, I don't want to give clicks to Bounding into Comics though. Let's go news. Well, there's a poster. Where's the poster? God, I hate these fucking comic book websites. I miss when it was all in print. This is all boycott Aquaman 2. No, I want the poster. Here we go. Batwheels coming this fall. Cartoonito. So fall. Fall is when we're getting the Batwheels. Black leather suits of the 2000s movies were okay, but I would like to see if the MCU ends up portraying the X-Men in any way closer to Jim Lee's style. I would hope that they would. Take it to heart, but don't look it up. Keeps the mystery alive. That's how I'll think of it. Even though it's not necessarily always my quintessential take on Spider-Man, it's still a great version. Toyman's in Batwheels? Oh, is he? I'm not positive about Deadpool, but I know that he mauled about Shatterstar being revealed to be bi. Oh, gee, that's fun. What a fun guy. After a quick search, I think that was just a weird joke. That's what I figured. A Batman-themed version of Cars. Kind of seems like it. I'm interested to see what it does, but like obviously it's, you know, it's meant for a younger audience. So if it's not up your alley, and it doesn't necessarily look that it'll be up mine, you know, it is what it is. Get a little stretch in. Back to the wizard. Okay. How did you transition from porn to comics? I never knew. John says, well, I kept my name. And Bendis responds, yeah, buck naked. That's one of the things about about like going through all these old wizard magazines is that like you can very much see how much of the comics industry was just a boys club kind of situation throughout the 90s and early 2000s, and it's nuts to see where it is now. You know, obviously the people who complain about like, why is it comics political now? The comics were always, you know, political, but they have over time become much more inclusive. And so the people, you know, complaining about the political nature, what they're really complaining about is the inclusivity and the fact that they're making stories marketed towards audiences other than, you know, hetero white dudes. And they're getting mad about that, essentially. Because, you know, this was the vibe at the time. It was yeah, porn is funny. Boobies, right? Howdy, Phantom Flame. How's it going? Aside from Jay and Watch Her Database, how many YouTubers are in the DCAU market? I know Owen Likes Comics has done a DCAU video or two. And Brian McDermott did a great video on Beware the Grey Ghost. No, Beware the Grey Ghost was the Owen video. Brian did a great video on Underdwellers. Can't recommend highly enough. I come here with a complicated purpose today, and I figure you guys might know, since you're into the same topic. Interesting. This feels like a transcript of a podcast episode or a forbidden Discord log. John says, in 91, I was actually graduating high school, and I was just reading comics that I liked. I bought my comics at a flea market on Saturdays. Post 91 in college, there was a comic shop right on campus, and it was the first time I was exposed to a real comic shop. My roommate and I could actually buy a comic, and a month later, trade it back to the store for more than we paid for it. The funniest thing I bought was Eclipso #1, like 40 of them, with that gem on the cover. Lee says, Jeff John, spectacular, I love it. We got stuck with those, and that's when everything for me just stopped because I had no money left, and I remember for years afterwards, I'd find Eclipsos shoved in my comic collection. God damn, of course fucking Jeff Johns would be in on the speculative side of the market. It's like dude, it's like NFTs. He was trying to fucking use these as currency and then got his shit handed to him. Beautiful. Comics were honestly more aggressively political in the 70s through 90s, which makes the reactionary outrage even more ridiculous. Here, here. Underdwellers. I just love how this fucking guy almost got Batman across the line. It was intriguing. Oh, absolutely. The reason I ask is because there's this thing called Rule Zero where several content creators banded together to do a weekly panel stream where they touch base to discuss a designated topic. He bought 40 issues of Eclipso #1. Man thought that was going to be worth some money. And bring their audiences together to mix. A different content creator hosts each week. Maybe you could talk James and... that could be interesting. Let's see. Jim Lee says, you were eating shredded Eclipsos for breakfast. Bendis says, do you find you've been meaner to the character because of this? And Jeff John says, I actually love Eclipso. He's one of my favorite characters. Bendis responds, I know, but do you find that subconsciously you're putting him in shitty positions just because of what he did to you? John says, maybe I am. I did kill one of his hosts in JSA. Bendis says, see, there you go. Wizard asks, did you buy X-Men #1? And Johns responds, oh yeah, I didn't buy a ton of those, but I think I bought like probably 2 copies, the Colossus one and the other one. I don't know if I traded that one in. Jeff Johns bought 40 issues of Eclipso #1 and only 2 of X-Men #1. What an incredible fucking guy. Jim, do you want to show your appreciation to Jeff for helping out your success in some small way? Jim Lee says, oh, I probably owe him about 4 cents. John says, that was part of the fun of collecting. I think people kind of rag on it a lot because of the effects that some of it eventually had, but part of the fun back then was speculating about it. It's bad now to say, hey, I'm going to buy a comic book in a backing board and put it in a collection. I think maybe it's gone too far to the other side. But I'm also stuck with 20 copies of Eclipso #1 still, so what do I know? Eclipso is his Blorbo confirmed. Hold on, what is Blorbo? That sounds familiar. Beautiful. Blorbo from my shows. Okay, where's the wizard? There it is. I love the idea of Jeff Johns killing off characters just because he fell for a fucking scam. Jesus Christ, just wait till DC gets a hold of the Bored Ape Yacht Club, am I right? Let's see, where were we? What do you think was the impact of the formation of Image Comics in 1992? Bendis responds, well, I was still at the store when it hit, and it hit huge. It was seismic. It was also the first time Marvel Zombies would, actually abandon Marvel books for something else. It's weird because I think about watching it all go on, and then for me personally, to know that I would end up at Image a couple of years later, you would have never guessed that in a million years, and I was actually at Image longer than Jim was. It really is an amazing touchstone in the industry. Jeff John says, I also made creators' names. I mean, Wizard was a part of that too, obviously, but it made creators' names, it also made creators' names. Got it. I thought he said I thought he was taking responsibility for making creators into names. It also made creators into names. I mean, Wizard was a part of that too, obviously, but it made creators' names much more. When I first started reading comics, I remember I was like, wow, that was really good. It was a Hulk issue, and I'm like, who wrote that? And it was some guy named Peter David. I just didn't know names of people who did comics until college. Bendis says, I always followed creators, even when I was like 5 years old. I knew who George Perez was. I was a lunatic like that. You were just opening an Eclipso to see who to blame. John says, yeah, I did. I had to give Eclipso plotter Keith Giffen shit for that. Bendis responds, who the fuck did this to me? I love that they're all just roasting Jeff Johns over this Eclipso thing, because, like, they should. Fucking just beautiful. How many Titans issues did you buy, Jeff? They finally make Detective Chimp their mascot like God intended. Apparently, Ezra Miller is caught up in another scandal. They just can't stay out of trouble. Yeah, that one seems... I don't want to, like, talk too much on that, because it seems like there's a lot of different angles that aren't, like, really coming through. My perspective on it, from what I have seen, and I'm sure there's possibly more that, you know, I could be missing out on, but it seems like the parents were, like, a bit restrictive, and Ezra was trying to be helpful. But I also, like, understand the very serious nature of, like, maybe not their place to do that. You know, and it's not a good look. Ezra's obviously got a lot of mental health issues going on, and, you know, I can understand them wanting to be a helpful force, but, you know, you can't help others until you help yourself. And that's all I've got to say regarding that. Let's see. All right, where was I? Jim, considering you helped form Image, you must have a much different perspective on its effects. Jim Lee says, to start, on a financial one, I think it helped out a lot of the top-end creators. I know that comic book creators worked at a flat page rate, and then when they instituted royalties in the 80s, there was this beneficial wave that went through the community. Then, when Image happened, because we were bidding up the prices on talent, writers, artists, colorists, people were making a lot more money all of a sudden. Page rates went from 120 to 500 to 1,000. They're not at that level anymore, but some of the top-end talent is still making a lot, and I think you could definitely peg it right around that time period. If Image hadn't happened, I don't know if there would have been that kind of pressure on the big two to open up the vaults. On a creative level, I think it definitely appealed to younger readers. sense of rebellion and sticking it to the man. These people were getting to own and control their own properties. I think it probably galvanized a lot of fans to get into comics. I've met so many people now who say, I got into comics because of Image, and I don't think it was just because of the stuff we were producing between the pages. It was sort of the brand and marketing. Bendis says, I've talked to the founders individually. I was close to Todd for a while, and I'm close to former Image publisher Jim Valentino, and I don't think people realize, because it all worked out so well so quickly, that it was scary shit. You'd given up your careers. Jim Lee says, sure, and Bendis responds, it could have easily blown up in your face. And Jeff Johns says, but at the same time, Brian, imagine if a bunch of us on the writing side today got together and did our own company. Bendis says, yeah, why don't we do that? To which Lee responds, I don't know, why don't you guys do that? Jeff Johns says, there's an excitement level to that. It's like if you're in there with 4 or 5 of your peers and you really respect and admire, and you're all ready to rock and roll and you're in your mid-20s, I mean, why not do it? And Bendis says, because I love Mark Millar. But seriously, could you have a business meeting with him? We'd go insane. Jim Lee says, well, you think our business meetings are easy? And John says, but on the other side, I'm sure that that's why they have the Icon imprint at Marvel. Bendis says, I definitely feel like the after effect of Image is still felt in the way they don't want to repeat that mistake they made by letting you guys go. If they would have given you guys what you wanted and let you do your books at Marvel, the whole industry would have been completely different. It took them 10 years to recover from that. So I don't think they ever want to repeat that mistake. They're not going to give us everything we want, but Icon wouldn't have existed back in the Image days. John says, in DC, their ownership rights would not be anywhere near what they are now. Bendis says, absolutely, so thank you, Jim Lee. And also, this brings up another subject. I definitely feel over the last 10 years or so, a lot of things have been made very easy for me and my peers to get stuff done, not only in comics, but in transitioning the rights to Hollywood stuff. Now I can go write powers for another medium without people going, you're a comic book guy, you can't do that. And Image and Frank Miller are a big part of that. Jim Lee says, and you have to thank yourselves too, I think. Also, the quality of writing is, on average, much higher now. And the fact that you guys are, as a collective whole, doing much better work makes it a lot easier. To which Bendis responds, well, I thank myself all the time, so... Oh no, I accidentally clicked off. There it goes. Ezra needs a professional help. I'm sick of fans fixating on how it impacts their cape shit and not caring about the very real consequences of everything they're doing to themselves and others. Amen to that. Let's see, my first day back on the channel, and here I am starting trouble. Oh, there's no trouble. You're good. LMFAO at Bendis throwing shade at Mark. Yeah, that's true. Are we doing a Wizard Magazine dive? Yeah, that's what we're on. Hi, Emmy. How's it going? When did this become cartoonist kayfabe? Well, I don't know what that means. I've heard those words before, but I don't know what that means. I think myself all the time sounds like Bendis. I've been researching the difference between canonization and continuity within Japanese culture versus American culture, as well as what fans apply versus creators. Interesting. There is one thing I'd like to ask about when you get a break. You can, if you want to ask something, you can just drop it in the chat whenever, and I try to go back through and read everything. So it's not like there's a lot of y'all in here. so it's not necessarily going to get buried. It just might not be like as immediate as you're hoping. How do you think storytelling has evolved from the 90s until today, asks Wizard. Bendis says the biggest difference is it went from almost completely artist-focused to equally writer/artist focused. I think the quality of storytelling improves dramatically when that's the case. John says it's also evolved just like comic art has evolved. You look at the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, and writing's evolved the same way throughout the decades. It was kind of super hyper exaggerated in the 90s, so you got art that was matched by writing that was maybe more in your face, more action driven, because you wanted the splashes and the spreads. It felt really loud, and it just evolved to another stage. Bendis says, it seems like the audience was very ready for the sophistication, the removal of the exposition as a whole by most writers. You don't need to hammer people with exposition and giant thought balloon images of who this character is and what they're doing. And I'm pretty happy to be part of that movement. John says, Brian, the way you use... Hold on, wait a second. Is Bendis here saying that he's part of the movement of removing exposition? That is like the exact opposite of what I know Bendis for. That doesn't sound right. Finding that in Japan, the idea is more focused on the release of an official product and the content. Oh, hey, Seftrix. I always feel like I mispronounced that because of the J there. Often regulated as occurring as parallel world, but still existing within the verse and meant to world build. However, how that goes for this one. Wait until you get rated and get 12K people on here. Oh my God, I would never be able to handle it. Mattie, who are your top 3 comic book writers? I'm really into Grant Morrison. I've read not like a lot of their work, but a decent handful. Really, I suggest Flex Mentallo is a good one that they've done. Animal Man is great. I'm really wanting to get into their Doom Patrol, but it's on my like massive DC reading list, so I'm putting it off until I get there. And you know, they've done a lot of other cool stuff. I think like Ty Templeton is great just because I love what he did with the DCAU comics. I think that his output in Batman Adventures stuff is a lot better than what Paul Dini's doing now with Batman The Adventures Continue. But you know, that's a personal opinion, and if you like Batman The Adventures Continue, good on you. There's definitely some good stuff in there, but there's also a lot of stuff that's like kind of weird. But with all of Templeton's Batman Adventures stuff, it pretty much feels like it fits that world a lot better. And it really gets into the psychology of Batman and just fleshes out those characters much more than the shows do themselves. Who would be my third? I've really been enjoying Neil Gaiman's Sandman lately, so he might be my third. But then at the same time, J.M. DeMatteis was really great with Justice League Infinity, but I don't know a lot of his other stuff. I don't know who my third would be. I could just say Paul Dini after just crapping on him, because I have read a decent amount of Paul Dini stuff that I do like. You know, every writer's got duds. Yeah, Bendis is crazy. Let's see. If you'll allow it. I mean, go ahead. Oh, your message didn't go through. Hold on. Let me see if there was like a hitch in the YouTube where maybe I have to approve the message. Let's see. No, I'm not seeing. I don't know. Just try and send it again. It's possible that I don't know. Maybe there was like a banned word or something in it. I don't know. Bendis narrator exposition. He just switched it to the characters doing the exposition. Gotcha. For Western media, nobody over here in the U.S. Nobody knows what's canon unless the company specifically says, and then even then people will still argue about it, right? You get people arguing all the time that Batman and Harley Quinn isn't canon, despite Bruce Timm being like, yeah, it's part of the DCAU. You get people arguing all the time over whether or not the MCU shows pre-Disney Plus are canon, even though they keep reusing actors from those shows. You know, it's a whole thing. I try not to focus on it quite as much these days personally. Alan Moore wrote good stuff, and we share the same last name. Alan Moore did write good stuff. That's true. That is true. Countdown is obviously the best Paul Dini has to offer. I haven't read that one, actually. We need to get you to read more stuff. That's true. I do need to read more stuff, but I'm working on it. I'm in Action Comics and Superman right now. I'm at like Action Comics 36 and Superman number 10. I'm really trying to power through. I was just asking if you could unban my main account. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what your main account is, but if you want to send us a DM on Twitter or something, I could look into that later off stream. Let's see. Where was I? Let's see. Jeff Johns says, Brian, the way you used thought balloons in the Mighty Avengers, you didn't bring thought balloons back, you changed them. All your thought balloons are character-driven more than they are exposition-driven. In the old days, you'd see Green Lantern flying and he'd explain everything he had to do. Bendis says, what was fun about it is they'd also give you the history. It would be Wolverine slicing the air, and there'd be a 30-line flying balloon over his head explaining exactly who he is, where he came from, what he did yesterday, what he had for lunch. And my argument is, when you're going about your day, you don't have to let everyone in on how it is that you got to this place. Maybe we just grew up and we saw what worked and what didn't work, and I'm not saying that we're more trained than our peers, it's just the language changed. Wizard asks, how do you think the prevalence of trade paperbacks has affected the industry? John says, everything's collected. I work with a lot of artists who say, and rightly so, I want to draw all 6 issues of this storyline because I want my work collected in a single volume. That's completely understandable, but it changes the dynamic of how you approach a comic. The trade paperback really changed everything. I remember the day that former Marvel president Bill Jemas told us that Barnes & Noble said 6 issues is what the guideline for a trade paperback should be. John says, I was actually pretty unhappy with that because I didn't want to have to add a story to where there was no story. And then Bendis says, we've all varied and done less or more, but here's the standard bearer. 6 issues, $14.95. What happens is you get a lot of writers who are now developing styles based on the 3-act structure broken down into 6 issues. And I think for as much crap as Warren Ellis and I and some other people get for decompression or whatnot, John butts in and says, well, you're approaching it as more of a complete story all at once. And Bendis says, exactly. In lots of comics we loved as kids, they were making them up as they went along, without knowing how many issues a story was going to be. So there's a lot of pluses to the 6-issue thing because it forces people to plan out better. John says, but you need more pages to tell emotional beats about the characters or to show off their abilities or powers instead of crowding it into a 6-panel page. And Bendis says that's the flip side of getting rid of the exposition, is that you now have to still get that information across. And Johns responds, you know, the other thing I'm interested in is the next generation of writers who grew up with the internet and how that's going to affect their writing. Bendis says, I think they're all going to be insane serial killers. Beautiful. Beautiful. I'm just gonna... save that as Bendis. Get that out of the way. Open up the Twitter. And let's see, where was the stream post? Does Bendis have a Twitter? And let me put the little... Where's the little... There we go, the Macaulay Culkin guy. There we go. Fuck it, I'll tag Brian Michael Bendis in that one. Oh, no problem, Zack. This is just Bendis shitting on the shoulders he's standing on. Got an author who basically said all the stuff is parallel and neither is correct. I'm still trying to find a way to communicate culture differences between stories. I don't think it's so much a question of if Batman and Harley Quinn is in DCAU continuity as it is a question of if it even should be. Oh god, I hate the thought bubbles like in the new Teen Titans. For me, it just ruins the pacing, and I'm happy they've been more so removed. The only countdown I know of is the Batman Beyond episode with Zeta. Hey, that's a good episode. God, he really thinks so much of himself. It's always fun to see you react to Golden Age Superman stuff. It really is a shame how watered down the character became, at least politically since then. Yeah, no, it's been fascinating diving into all of that. I wasn't expecting to like it as much as I do, but at the same time, there's just like, there is a feeling of like sameness from story to story, whether it's, you know, something as small as like, oh, it's just another racketeer, okay. Or like just something as small as like, I just read an issue of Superman the other day, and each issue has like 3 or 4 stories in it, and in every story, Superman grabs the bumper of a car and slides under it as it's moving. That's just his move. That's just what he's doing in every story, and it's just like, I don't know, why are we doing this every story in this issue? That's a lot. For my top 3, Jeff Johns, Tom Taylor, and Grant Morrison. Ted is a real big Johns fan. So I'm sure he's written some good stuff, but I think that like I'm more familiar with him via like the drama and stuff of like DCEU nonsense, and I don't even know all the details of that, so I just kind of have a skewed perception of him. Imagine Death Note or The Promised Neverland, but you didn't know what their thoughts were. I'm fond of thought balloons. It's really cool to literally get a glimpse inside a character's head. That's true. Funny how Bendis chooses groomer Warren Ellis as his brother in arms. Oh, I don't know about that. I haven't heard that story. Akira Toriyama was often guilty of making it up as he went along. He just happened to be a really good improviser. That's true. Speaking of making Superman great again, are we pro Snyderverse around here? I mean, it's a subject that I think everyone's got different opinions on. I really enjoyed Zack Snyder's Justice League, but I wasn't a fan of Batman vs Superman, and on rewatches, Man of Steel doesn't really hold up for me too much. But I do enjoy like other aspects of Zack's work. I think he's a great director. I think more or less, I would, if I was gonna blame anyone for what I don't like about those movies, it would be the writer, Chris Terrio. Right? He wrote those movies. He wrote Rise of Skywalker. Not a big fan of Chris Terrio's writing. But James is much more into those movies than I am. And I'm not sure if Ted has a hard stance either way. Ooh, popcorn. That sounds good. I genuinely cannot fucking wait for you to get to Martson's Wonder Woman. It's so ahead of its time, and the whiplash from Martson stuff to the Knieger stuff right afterwards is insane. Yeah, I'm getting into Wonder Woman actually pretty soon. I'm about halfway through Superman's 1941 stuff, and then I need to read through Batman's 1941 stuff, and then boom, Wonder Woman right then and there, 1942. Most of my favorite comic creators draw their own comics. I made Snyder haters and Snyder lovers threads in the Discord. That is true. That is true. It's we try to appease everybody, cause like, I don't know, it's just opinions on a movie. It's not like a life or death thing. I think that a lot of the Snyder fans are annoying, but like that has nothing to do with the movies themselves, if that makes sense. I'm gonna go get some more water, and then we'll pop back in. Boop, 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 boop. Penny, you really gotta give them a show while I'm gone. Penny, tell the people hello. I'll put you in the chair, okay? You sit in the chair, and you pop your little head up whenever you want them to see you. I'm the only one here. Sissy's at work right now, so. Ooh. Well, hello, Synth Fish Music, which is Adam, I believe. Let's see. I would have loved Zack Snyder's take on the Dark Knight Returns movie. And I know he did it partially with Batman vs. Superman, but I'm talking about a straight adaptation like what he did with Watchmen. Well, so the thing with Batman vs. Superman to me is that I think that his like doing it as a Dark Knight Returns kind of movie, the way that Zack did it kind of seems to suggest that he doesn't agree with Frank Miller's view of Batman, and that's why the movie kind of frames Batman as a douchebag who's in the wrong. Like, you know, he literally quotes Dick Cheney, who is a monstrous war criminal, to use as justification for his hatred of Superman. And if you like draw the parallels of that to like the real world, the quote that he used, the like, if there's even a 1% chance that this is a threat, then we have to take it as an absolute certainty. That was Dick Cheney's way of justifying bombing Muslim countries unjustly. And, you know, so I don't think that Zack saw Miller's take on Batman as too good of a guy. So I don't know if he would want to do a 1-for-1 Dark Knight Returns. But I could also be reading into his thoughts on that a little bit. I don't know. Imagine a time travel story. Jason goes back in time with opportunity to undo his own death, even save family, but escalates into a story versus an overpowered Joker and young Jason surpassing. My take on Snyder is that people get way too heated over the dude, and it's very silly. I like Man of Steel. I'm mixed to negative on Batman versus Superman. I like Justice League, and I'm really psyched to see what he does next. There we go. It's always very funny when people don't get that Batman is meant to be an antagonist in that movie. Yeah, like, there are Snyder fans who keep acting like Batman is a totally good and justified and okay dude in that movie, and like, that's antithetical to what that and Justice League are trying to get across. Do we want to keep doing this Bendis, Johns, and Lee thing, or do we want to like flip over to something else? Because I feel like reading this has been fun, but I do feel like it gets kind of muddy when like there's 3 different people talking and I have to keep like saying who is who. So I'll let y'all have some input on that. It's always very funny when people don't. I read that already. Most of what I know about Dick Cheney came from the movie Vice. I still haven't seen that, but I really want to. And W to a lesser extent. I want to see that one as well. But yeah, no, I was raised in, you know, my dad is a far right wing talk show host, and so there was a lot of Cheney and W praise in my childhood. But you know, blah. Batman had guns on the Batmobile. He was totally an antagonist. Let's see. Zack says vote for a different issue. Danny says I'm down for either way. And Emmy says move on. So all right, that's 3 for let's go somewhere else. I wonder if we have like any cool like Justice League Unlimited articles that we could read, or Batman Beyond or something like that. Let me see. In the where is the folder? Location. My drive. Magazines. Has the words Justice League Unlimited. I don't know. I don't know what Scott Snyder is doing. That would be a copy of Grant Morrison, so I'm not sure. Okay, so Wizard 173 seems to have a Justice League Unlimited article. Let's go there. Let's see what Bruce Timm's talking about. Oh, who's this? Who is this? Also an understudy for Stay, the Lisa Loeb story. I don't know what that is. Kate Bosworth, the new Lois Lane. Oh, is that is she in Superman Returns? I still haven't seen that one. Ooh. Caught the last bit of the article. So Jeff is great at combining the totality of the character. I don't know a lot of Jeff Johns. All right, here we go. Wizard Q&A with Bruce Timm. As Justice League Unlimited resumes its third season, the revolutionary animator, writer, and producer talks tension with the Legion of Doom, why Jeff Johns wrote an episode, and what's up with the JLU movie. Jeff Johns wrote an episode of JLU? Is that so? Oh. Okay, so he wrote Ancient History. That's interesting. Huh. The more you know. My only exposure to Adam McKay is Don't Look Up, and I was not a fan of that at all. I still need to see that one. I'm very behind on movies because Sissy has been having just attention span issues and shit like that, and so we just started going for TV shows. That way it's, less time per sitting. But we've started picking up a couple more movies here and there recently. We watched the first half of La La Land the other night. I still need to finish that with her, but it's been a fun ride so far. It's a pretty good transition. Ba-dum-ba. I was reading an article review on Justice League Incarnate, which was both bad and obviously a Grant Morrison impersonation book, but the article also said Scott Snyder is very Grant Morrison-y too. I've only read a little bit of Scott Snyder, and I don't even remember what of his I've read, so I can't really make a comment on it. Okay. Bruce Timm knows how to build a league of the world's greatest heroes. Besides pulling obscure and underground characters from every corner of the DC Comics universe for Cartoon Network's Justice League Unlimited, the animation producer assembled a crack team of animators, directors, designers, and writers to create the show. The result is a league of creative talent, combing veteran cartoon creators like Butch Luckick and Dan Reba, friend of the channel, Dan Reba. Watch our Dan Reba videos. We interviewed Dan Reba on multiple occasions. You should watch our Dan Reba videos. Watch all Watchtower database videos. Watch all the videos. But watch the Dan Reba ones. Why not? Watch the Multiverse one too. With top comics talents including Darwin Cook and Jim Steranko. And while fans remain glued to the tube with each new episode, the man behind it all barely has time to enjoy in his team's creative triumphs. Justice League Unlimited is like having two full-time jobs, laughs Timm, who at 45 has had more than his share of time in the animation trenches. Before Justice League Unlimited came along, Timm spent years as an animator and character designer, bouncing between studios and jobs until 1992, when he pitched what would become Batman the Animated Series to Warner Bros. The show burst onto weekday mornings as an unqualified success and led to 6 separate DC animated adaptations, all within the same universe. Most importantly, the story quality and content has remained consistent from Batman all the way through Justice League Unlimited, though the mastermind behind it all may see things differently. Justice League was so different than anything else we'd done before. Everything else was so smaller scale, recalls Timm of the first year of production for DC's greatest team. There was a pretty big learning curve from the other shows we'd done. Ooh. and I always thought the first season of Justice League was kind of our shakedown cruise. Wizard caught up with animation Superman at his LA office in the rev up for the completion of Justice League Unlimited Season 3. Check your local listings. In the midst of a heavy schedule, Tim weighs in on a few of our burning questions. The first half of La La Land is better than the second half, IMO. I'll take your word for it, but I still want to finish it. God, I miss Wizard Magazine. Still have my issues. Only 5 of them, but still fantastic ones. Need to find more of them. If you wanna look for Wizard magazines locally, I would suggest. Sometimes comic shops will have them. Maybe used bookstores if they have a magazine section. I've found a couple at antique shops. Always worth looking around at places like that. But of course, I'm sure you can also get them on eBay. But most people who put things on eBay know what they've got and ask for decent prices, you know. Whereas if you go to like just a used or collectibles shop, sometimes they won't really know. How are things with you and your girl? With me and Sissy, we're doing all right. We're getting married in August. Pretty sure the JLU movie that's going to be talked about by Bruce is the one that became Crisis on Two Earths. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's the case. La La Land is either a masterpiece or the most overhyped shit on the planet, depending on who you ask. I personally fall firmly in the former camp. Dan Reba, our beloved. That's true. La La Land 2049. Maybe DC can cast Rosario Dawson if she's not too busy with her 20 other projects. Wasn't there like a whole anti-trans thing with Rosario Dawson not too long ago? I don't know how I feel about her right now. I used to be a huge Rosario fan, but that thing kind of seemed a little sus, and I think it went to court or something, and like she ended up winning it out, but at the same time, I don't know, just it felt sus to me. Who's writing this article? This article is written by Keel Fagley. Let's look that person up. Keel Fagley. Oh, they write Sonic the Hedgehog books now. But this is a very small photo of him. Here we go. This is probably a more recent photo of him. Keel Fagley. Never knew Bruce was in his 40s during JLU. Yeah, he's an old geezer. If you could continue the DCAU somehow, how would you? You know what? Get Bruce Timm to work with Grant Morrison for a DCAU Grant Morrison show. Whatever Grant Morrison wants to do. The anti-trans thing was debunked. Okay. Well, if that's the case, then you know, then maybe Rosario's not that bad. Kind of shows that no matter time, you can still write some fun stuff, and people won't turn you down. Accusers of Dawson were proven to be outright liars in multiple incidents. The case was completely thrown out. Okay, cool. Well, that's good to know, because I was a huge Rosario Dawson fan, and then like I heard about that and got real upset about it, and wasn't too fond of the idea. Okay. Before we actually read the article, 10 things you did not know about Bruce Timm. Before getting his first job in animation at Filmation, Timm worked full-time at Kmart. The first time Timm took the required art test when applying for a job at Filmation, he failed. A year later, he passed and was hired. Number 2. The first cartoon Tim worked on was a Conan-style show named Black Star. Number 3. Long before Mad Love, Tim's first published comic work appeared in the He-Man mini-comics included with the Masters of the Universe toy line in the 80s. Grizzlor, The Legend Comes Alive was published in 1984. Number 4. Although they didn't directly work together until their time on Tiny Toon Adventures, Tim and Paul Dini first met when they were both working on Beanie and Cecil for Deke in 1988. Only 8 episodes of the cartoon were made, and only 5 of them were aired. I used to watch Beanie and Cecil back in the day. I wonder if it holds up. If it had Tim and Dini, I gotta imagine that it would. How would Batman Beyond have gone if the Huntress were still Bruce's daughter, like in some of the comics? Terry versus Helena, all battle for the Cal type. I don't think Batman Beyond was interested in telling like multi-episode arcs too often, so I don't think it would be too different. I feel like it would probably just have been just an extra episode. I'm a big proponent of separating the art from the artist, but it all comes down to what you're comfortable with. Yeah, I mean, I get that for sure, but in the way that I look at it, if I find an artist to be problematic, I'm not going to support them, because, you know, if you're still watching and consuming their art, you're not separating it. They still profit off of that. They still make money. Like, if you're pirating it, go right ahead, I guess. But, you know, if you're going through the legal channels, then it's a little bit more of a gray area, for me personally, that I'm just not too keen on. Right? Like, I don't know. I won't get too much into it, but like there's a couple bands that I've been really into over time that, like, then all of a sudden a member's problematic history comes out into the open, and it's just like, oh, well, if I'm still listening to their music and buying their CDs and this, that, and the other, then I am actively giving them money, which helps them to continue this behavior, right? Like, they're still going on tour. They're still got young people in their audiences looking up to them who they get to manipulate and abuse. And it's just there's no actual separation there. No matter how much you want to tell yourself that you're separating it. It's not Jared Leto's band, is it? You know, I was into 30 Seconds to Mars as a kid, but I haven't listened to them in forever. Recently it's the band Dance Gavin Dance for me. Found out some stuff about their vocalist, and then that ended up into finding out some other stuff about other bands, or not other bands, but other members of the band, and they kicked the vocalist out, but the other members are still there, and I'm just not vibing with it anymore, despite the fact I've been listening to them since high school. Lindsay Ellis has a good video essay called Death of the Author that covers the topic quite well. Yeah, Lindsay Ellis is great. Robert Kirkman, creator of Walking Dead, also worked on those He-Man mini comics. Oh, that's interesting. Plus, their opinions and views also impact their art, so you got to think about that critically. Yeah, that's true as well. Where were we? Number 5. The first thing Tim can remember drawing as a child is Batman. It was most likely copied from the title sequences of the 1960s Adam West television series. Tim says in the intro to the book Batman Animated, "It certainly wouldn't be the last time I drew him." Number 6. Tim made his voice acting debut as the Mad Bomber in Batman the Animated Series episode Beware the Grey Ghost. Most recently, he's voiced Solomon Grundy in the Justice League episode Wake the Dead. Number 7. When mulling over ideas for a Superman cartoon series to follow the success of the Batman series, Tim originally pitched a team-up concept where Superman would pair up with a different DC superhero every episode. Jeanette Kahn, who was the publisher of DC Comics at the time, said, "That's not a good idea," and she was right. Number 8. Of all the character designs Timm included in his first pitch for Batman the Animated Series, he had the most trouble with Batman's alter ego. He illustrated over 20 versions of Bruce Wayne before he was happy with it. And now I have to track down every single one of those. I do not believe it can be an easy task. Number 9. During a hiatus from animation, Timm developed an ulcer and reached his limit. As part of my therapy for getting rid of the ulcer, I had to quit smoking coffee, alcohol, sugar, and fat, all at the same time, Timm says in Modern Masters Volume 3. So I went cold turkey on all of those for 2 weeks, and at the end, I had a nervous breakdown. I couldn't even breathe. Number 10. Timm butted heads with Steven Spielberg while working on Tiny Toon Adventures. I just remember a number of times some of the ideas that we would float past to try to make the cartoon just a little edgier, Timm says in Modern Masters. This was Color Purple era Steven. He was still kind of into that goopy sentimental mode, so the cartoons could never be quite as edgy and hip as we really wanted to make them because Steven would always pull it back. Alright. Atheist monkeys believe there is no Grodd. But psst. Amen to redesigning 20 times, Bruce Timm. I do that as well. Let's see. The first few seasons of Justice League featured longer arcs. Was it harder when you didn't know how much to fit in? For it to be true, Justice League had to be really big and really epic. And if you had 7 major heroes, then you've got to have major villains for them to fight. So the small mystery plots we'd had in the previous shows just weren't going to cut it. And also, we had so many characters in the show that we needed to give them a little elbow room. So we came up with the idea of having the stories be 2-parters, so we'd have enough story to tell so that each character could have some significant screen time. Wizard says, in Justice League Unlimited, there's more synergy between what you're doing and what DC is publishing. Was that intentional? Timm responds, it's really weird. People are going to find it hard to believe, but it's a major coincidence. The storyline we did last season with the Cadmus arc thematically mirrors what's going on with Identity Crisis, but of course, what they're doing is much darker. At one point, we'd even talked about Batman breaking off from the League, kind of like he's done in the comics, but we figured that was taking the story into a place we didn't want to go. What can you tell us about this season's larger arc involving the Legion of Doom? The weirdest thing about this new season is that it focuses on the villains more than the heroes. We hit the ground running saying, okay, we've got this supersized Justice League, now let's get the supersized Legion of Doom. And there's definitely some Survivor-style politics happening inside of the Legion of Doom. Gorilla Grodd, above, has got Lex Luthor there against his will, and their agendas are different. They're supervillains anyways. They're not the most trustworthy guys on the planet. So there's going to be some weird reversals and sparks flying at the Legion of Doom headquarters. What else will be resolved this season? The most obvious thing happening is that we've still got the Green Lantern, Hawkgirl, Vixen triangle out there, and it's actually a square now that we've got Hawkman thrown into the mix. That's going to get resolved sometime this season, and that's about all I can tell you. Denny O'Neil, Warren Ellis, Gail Simone, and now Jeff Johns have written episodes for you. The most obvious Jeff Johns inspired... The most obvious Jeff Johns inspired thing we've done is the stalker aspect of Hawkman, which is the one thing we really looked at in the comics and said, that's the most interesting new thing he's done with Hawkman. The fact that he's convinced he's reincarnated and that Hawkgirl is his reincarnated love. We wholeheartedly pinched that for that first Hawkman episode, and then when we came around to doing the sequel, we thought, hey, why not go to the source? And Jeff is a really big fan of the show. We're big fans of his. He lives right here in town. Why not bring him on and see if he wants to work on the sequel episode? So he did, and it all came out groovy. What is one character you'd never use in Justice League Unlimited, and why? And one character you've always wanted to use, but have never been able to? For a long time, people were talking about Neil Gaiman's Sandman. They'd say, let Sandman show up. But what are we going to do with him? How does that work into a Justice League story? He's not a superhero, he's the lead singer of The Cure. But now it's not even an issue. The whole Vertigo universe is closed off for us, which has not really been a problem. We really would have liked to use Blue Beetle, especially when we did that Booster Gold episode. The rights weren't available though. We wanted to do a Phantom Stranger story, but we couldn't do that. We wanted to do the Spectre and we couldn't use him. Those were the main ones, but it's fine. It's not like we don't have a zillion other characters we can't use. Fans have been clamoring for a direct-to-video Justice League movie. Any word on that? We actually did develop a script for a direct-to-video Justice League movie, but it got canceled at the last minute. There's always talk about doing more long-form stuff for direct-to-video. That's a whole untapped market. We'll see. For more on contributing writer Keel Feigley's interview with Bruce Timm, log on to wizarduniverse.com. Oh, interesting. So there's a longer version of the interview. I wonder if we can find that. I don't think the Wizard website is up anymore, but we could probably go through the Wayback Machine. And then Bruce Timm fell out from Spielberg again during Freakazoid. Oh yeah, they did, didn't they? Do you have any idea when the new Batman animated series comes out? I lost track of that. I'm pretty sure it's spring 2023, if I'm remembering correctly. This site cannot be reached. To the way back it is. When did this issue come out? This is March 2006. So let's see what we can find. Hold on. Y'all can't really read this because of how small it is, can you? I want y'all to see what I'm seeing here. Our resident female expert answers your questions on love, life, and more in the comic book world. Wizard has their own female expert. Do y'all think it's gonna be a dude or do you think it's gonna be a woman? Let's see. Where would they hide an interview? Would they hide it in the Wizard Magazine tab? Or would they hide it in the news archives? Deirdre, our resident female expert. Deirdre. I'm gonna guess that's a woman's name. Is it always good to get what we want, or should we all be careful what we wish for before our fantasy lives turn out to be a bad rerun of The Twilight Zone? Sometimes the seemingly best case scenarios are not always the best for us. Yes, we should all try to do the right thing and what would make us happiest, but we must also think of how it affects others around us in the long run. So the question becomes, when do we stop pursuing today's ideal and realize there might be something even more suitable just around the corner? Fortune cookie tip of the week. If the table moves, move with it. Dear Deirdre, 2 months ago, my girlfriend cheated on me. With a girl! I knew she liked girls way before I was with her, and that was just another quality I loved about her. I can't imagine that this is gonna go in an LGBT friendly way. But with that opening, I gotta read this. When she first told me she cheated, I was actually surprised. I said to myself, "Self, you have a girlfriend who's into other girls. You hit the jackpot." Needless to say, be careful what one wishes for. She apologized and said she messed up. She also said this is not the first time she's cheated on her boyfriends with other girls. I immediately told her it was okay, and I tried to comfort her and let her know that what she did was not only okay with me, but it made me want to be with her even more. I don't care if she got it on with another girl, but if it was a guy, well, that's a different story. I hate this dude, and I hope that the girl is doing fine. That is my take so far. After a day, I talked to her in a more stable frame of mind and tried to work things out. However, she made up her mind and wanted to leave me. Her reason was because she felt too guilty and bad about what she did and couldn't stand to look at me in the face. I supported her decision and backed off for a while. I still talk to her now and then to catch up on how she's doing, but I don't ask if she's changed her mind yet. Also, I confronted her and told her that what she did was a result of my idiocy. 2 weeks before this, I neglected to call her for an entire week, which might have depressed her and driven her into the arms of another girl. There's no excuse for what I did, but during that week I was going through some hard stuff and felt that I had no right to talk to her in that frame of mind and pass my problems on to her. I basically wanted to scream every profanity known to man. However, I think that because her parents are so strict and religious, they're Mormons, that she doesn't want to be with me because of them. I totally understand this because she feels she owes them due to the fact that they're paying for her college tuition. I want to talk to her and ask her if she's had enough time to think things over. When or if I do talk to her, I want to let her know that I want to meet her parents so she doesn't want to have to worry about hurting them in any way. I hope that by me having a good job, I'm a custom electrician, and going to school for journalism and photography would help my case. So, Deirdre, help a man out, please, and thank you for your time. Why is this even a wizard? Hold on, let me catch up with the chat real quick before I read Deirdre's response. I find that sometimes in comics, authors, depending on how long the series continues, get to choose a successor to their work. I'm not sure who they chose for Batman, but something. Suppose that it is actually Bruce Timm. What are some of the things make that so, and who might it become beyond that, or does he still hold the mantle? I'm not sure what you're asking. Remember, if it says March, it likely came out 3 months before that. March is the newsstand date. Yeah, that's true. That's true. I didn't think about that. Should we get a nightly animated series? I don't care. Sure, why not? When March comes around, you either send the unsold copies back, or you rip off the covers and put them. What she did was a result of my idiocy. Way to rob her of her agency. Ain't that the truth? Also, please like me for standing in society and not my personality. Let's see. Well, hold on. So this is from March, and they've got a poll about Wizard number 173, which is the issue we were reading, so I guess that works out. Okay, what does Deirdre say? Hi there! I could see how losing your girlfriend to another girl can be difficult to deal with. I'm also sorry to see that your male fantasy of having a bisexual girlfriend could end up coming around to bite you in the ass like that. And although you are being incredibly supportive and forgiving of your girlfriend's infidelity, you might be missing the bigger picture. Though she may still have feelings for you, and unfortunate situations might have pushed this occurrence along to its outcome, she is probably still confused about what she wants right now, and whether your neglect to call her for a week really had anything to do with her cheating on you, she clearly needed a change, a big one, in her life, and although she should have talked to you about it before cheating was a factor, she made the right decision to break up with you at this point. She's probably going through some difficult and confusing emotions and needs the space to think it all through. It's probably even more difficult for her since her parents are strict with her. Though this is probably not what you want to hear, the best thing you could do right now for her is to be there for her and support her decisions, and in time, who knows, maybe she will realize that what is best for her is you. In the meantime, maybe you should let her know just how you feel about her and that you are still interested in pursuing a relationship with her, but be sure not to pressure her into making a decision before she's ready. Just remember, it wasn't your fault that she cheated on you. She obviously had other feelings and chose to act on them. Relationships have their ups and downs, and if the worst you did was not call her for a week, I doubt that had anything to do with her decision. Maybe you should also ask yourself if she is really what you want, or if it is the fantasy of possibly being part of some girl-on-girl action. I'm off now to move a few tables of my own. Deirdre. I like that she told him to fuck off. Wait. Let's see. Okay. So here's the news archives. I think. Is this the news archives? No, here's the news archives. Okay. Let's see. Okay, so I'm not seeing Bruce Timm here. Oh, I don't know what I clicked. Excuse me. Maybe in the January? That would have been 2 months before. Presenting the extended Wizard Q&A with Bruce Timm. Boom! You were right, Emmy. Oh, you were correct. Okay, Wizard says, I'm really pumped that I got to talk to you. Batman the Animated Series premiered when I was in the 5th grade, so I jumped right on at the start and have been watching all the shows as they've progressed. Bruce Timm says, cool, you're making me feel very old. Growing up, were you a cartoon kid or a comics kid? How did that stimuli affect you as a reader or viewer? And how did they reflect on you when you went into formal art training? God, that's a loaded question. Well, I wasn't a huge cartoon fan. I mean, I watched cartoons, but I wasn't an aficionado or anything. But I was a huge superhero fan, and I was into comics and superhero stuff from a very early age, and I kind of got into the whole cartoon thing through that door. I was planning on being a comic book artist when I grew up, but when I was working on my comic book art, I kind of knew that I wasn't good enough yet to draw comics for a living. First, I moved out here to the San Fernando Valley, and there was an animation studio right downtown in the heart of it called Filmation Studios. And so the next best thing to drawing comics was drawing superheroes in the cartoons. They actually weren't superheroes, but you know. So I got my foot in the door that way, and then it kind of snowballed into my career. So what exactly was your background as far as training? Did you take illustration classes, or were you mostly self-taught? I'm almost completely self-taught. I never actually went to art school or anything like that. I took some life drawing classes at an art center later on, but I never actually went to formal art school or anything. I should have, but I didn't. Hindsight is 2020. Yeah, well, you know, to this day, I still can't draw perspective to save my life. I still have to fake everything. You said you worked for Filmation, and I see you also worked for Don Bluth for a while. What was it like starting out? Were you given painting cells and backgrounds, or were you just doing design work up front? How did you work your way up? Bruce says, I kind of bounced around between a lot of different studios, Filmation, Don Bluth, and Marvel Productions. I ended up doing a little bit of everything back then. I did a little bit of character designs and some backgrounds and vehicle design and layout, which is kind of in between storyboard and animation. I did some storyboards too. It was kind of the nature of the business. I jumped around and did a bunch of different things and learned a lot of different animation skills along the way. You met Paul Dini when you both worked on Beanie and Cecil for Deke, then worked together on Tiny Toons for Warner's. What clicked between you two? Well, we both had similar interests and similar tastes in terms of cartoons and comics, and we both had a deep, abiding love for the history and lore of the characters, so we were very much simpatico in that respect, and our fundamental background with with the characters. We had similar takes in what we wanted to do with them. It was a real happy blend. Why did you guys decide to put Batman together first? Was it because the movies were real popular? Was it the specific style? I always got the impression that a lot of the visuals from the show were inspired by the Fleischer Brothers Superman cartoons. Why combine that style with Batman? Well, it was really pure luck that we got Batman. Because of the first Batman movie being such a big hit, there was talk of spinning that off into a cartoon. And even though I'd been doing funny animal cartoons for a while with Mighty Mouse and Tiny Toons and Beanie and Cecil, superheroes were always my first love. So when the possibility of doing a Batman cartoon came along, I just caught fire and whipped off a bunch of Batman designs that I thought a Batman cartoon could look like. So I went to my boss, Jean McCurdy, and she dug them. And a few months down the road, when there was a real possibility that the Batman cartoon was going to be made, she hooked me up with Eric Radomski, who was a background painter on Tiny Toons, and it was a combination of my character design and Eric's background style that kind of really meshed well together. And Jean was the one who mentioned the Superman cartoons as a possible source of inspiration. And of course, we loved those cartoons as well. But our first initial instinct was to not go that way. But she strongly suggested that we push the show in that direction, and it was a good idea. Oh, I accidentally scrolled. Then we went to Warner's, and that was it. What did I miss? Oh shit, Keanu Comics in the building. How's it going, dude? Everybody go subscribe to Keanu Comics at youtube.com. Three cheers for Emmy. Sure, let's give Emmy 3 cheers. Hip hip. Hooray! Hip hip. Hooray! Hip hip. Hooray! The current spiritual successor of Batman itself. Batman's such a big character that like a bajillion people were working on him all concurrently, all at the same time. There's like 700 Batman books, all just there and available. I don't know that there is a successor to the Batman legacy as far as from a creative side goes. Oh shoot, Scarlo, we won in the building. Hey, hey, hey. Let's see. Now, where was I? Well, the show is obviously a more sophisticated take on the character than had been seen in mass media for a long time, other than the movies. You guys really seem to get to the core of what worked in the comics and let people see him in the way the comic fans had always seen him. So when you guys were working on that, did you think to yourself, we're really doing something different? People are going to be blown away. Or was it just that you were so involved doing it as it should be done and as fans would do it, that the fact that it was so big came as a shock to you? It sounds really egotistical, but we kind of knew it would be a big splash. For one thing, Batman was really, really hot back then. We figured that even if the show was pure crap, the show would get a lot of attention because it was a Batman cartoon, period. Even if it had been crap on ice, it would probably have done well in the ratings. But we knew we were doing something really different with it in terms of the standards of TV cartoons. We knew we were doing something that was ultra stylized and at the same time really respectful of the comics. And also at the same time, it was just a really entertaining show in its own right. So we kind of knew the show we would have had to really screw it up bad to not have made a big splash. We kind of expected it would do well. Did you have problems when you brought it to network censors? Oh, sure. In the quote-unquote children's animation arena, there's always going to be issues of the broadcast standards, acceptability, and is this appropriate for kids? All that stuff. But fortunately for us, thank God for the Tim Burton movie, because it was so extremely darker than anybody had seen Batman before in any kind of mass media, that it really gave us a precedent to point and say, hey, look, that was a big, dark Batman movie, and it was the #1 movie last year. That was one of the reasons why Fox even bought the show in the first place, because of the movie. At the same time, they were very much aware that we were pushing the envelope in terms of adult content and children's programming. So there was a bit of back and forth. There were points when they'd say, "You absolutely cannot do that." But at the same time, they were very good in terms of allowing us to stay true to the character and really kind of push the boundaries as far as we did. So there were tough times, but they were, for the most part, very supportive. So what are some of your favorite episodes from Batman the Animated Series? There were so many because we did 65 in that first batch, and I don't even remember how many more. But, oh god, there's so many. The very first episode is still one of my favorites, On Leather Wings, the Man-Bat episode. That was kind of our Batman manifesto. We wanted to come right out of the gates and say, this is what our show's going to be. It's not Adam West and it's not Filmation, it's not Hanna-Barbera. It's gritty, moody, balls-out action Batman. Hey, everybody, balls out for Batman. For our first time out the gate, I think it's a really successful episode, and I still think it's one of our better episodes from that entire run. Didn't Tom Ruger work on B-Test? That sounds right. I think so. We knew no one would let us make this type of a show before. In hindsight, the Tim Burton film sounds insane in comparison to how comic book movies are made now. Yeah. Well, they used to take risks with these things. Yeah, it's extremely creepy in parts, says Wizard. Yeah, it was really well done and it kind of gelled. We had the combination of the stripped down storytelling and the moody background stylings and Shirley Walker's amazing music. The stellar vocal cast, the stars were in alignment, so that's one. And the Mr. Freeze episode, Heart of Ice, is still a favorite. And there are bits and pieces from certain episodes that I really love, not complete episodes that stand out to me. But there are those moments that come through. Well, I don't want to talk you through all the different iterations and style changes and network changes you've done, but when you guys were working on this and you moved and changed the style while making the Superman show, what made you think we're going to change things but keep continuity? It could have been easy. It could have been easy to start all over. In between the two Batman shows we did, the Superman show, which was stylistically a little different than Batman. It was a little bit more angular style, and a lot of that came from some character designers we had hired in the meantime. Specifically, they misspelled Shane Glines as Shane Grimes, so that's kind of funny, and James Tucker. We brought a little bit more graphic look to the show than we had on Batman, and it was really working very well in the finished product. The Superman show was, if anything, consistently animated, and the more stripped down character designs really seemed to fit well with animation. And the thing is, by the time we were into Superman, we were really into doing that show, and so when the subject of going and revisiting Batman came up, at first it was like, that's yesterday's news. Why would we want to go back and do more Batman now that we're doing Superman? But then I started thinking about the design aspect of it and thinking, okay, well, if I had Batman to do over again, what would I change? And what I would change was the fact that I had Shane Glines and James Tucker working for me, and Glenn Murakami. And Glenn Murakami had a big influence in that. And his style got a lot more graphic along the way too. So like I did with the original Batman, I just basically sat down and started drawing and thought, Superman was more graphic. What if we went even more graphic and more angular? I did a couple of pages worth of really super graphic designs of Batman, Joker, and Bruce Wayne, and it was like, well, that's interesting. It would be kind of cool to do Batman like that. It would be an improvement on the old show, so that's what we did. People always think that change is bad. They always do. People are digging something if you go and throw a monkey. People are digging something if you go and throw a monkey wrench in it. They immediately dislike it because it was different. By changing the show and making it fresh, that was actually one of the things that the WB was excited about. They didn't just want more Batman the Animated Series, they wanted to freshen it up. So part of their brief for us was to freshen up the show, and we wanted to do it anyhow, but we do want to keep it in continuity. There's no reason to throw out 65 episodes that for the most part worked very well, and Kevin Conroy, you're not going to find a better Batman voice than Kevin Conroy. Ain't that the fucking truth? That is 100%. The chat scroll paused. Pee-wee's Big Adventure is a cartoonish, and we still cast comedians in lead action roles. Yeah, it's true. Have y'all read Kevin Conroy's story from the Pride issue that just came out? If you haven't, highly recommend it. A+, I fucking cried before even getting to the end of it. Like, just incredible, heart-wrenching shit. Just, oof. Oof. It hurts. Let's see. I don't think I'll ever think of anybody ever again as Batman except Kevin Conroy. The way he's played the character has just been quintessential. Yeah, so that wasn't even a discussion. We just knew we were going to carry on our continuity. Even though a lot of the characters looked drastically different than they did in the previous show, for the most part, we just figured they were the same character, and we didn't want to go into the whole big explanation of why Penguin suddenly doesn't have webbed fingers anymore. It's being drawn by a different artist now. It's like John Romita drew the last issue, now Carlos Meglia is drawing it. There we go. There we go. That's one. That's one to put on the fucking Twitter. BT on Penguin. digging through Wizard issues took us to an old archived interview with Bruce Timm on the Wizard website. For anyone who ever wanted explanations for why characters looked different in TNBA, here you go. The answer is that they didn't. I'll not put that last sentence. There we go. Kevin's voice just works, like the perfect balance between aggressive and caring. It's very true. Wow, he's read the book. Hell yeah. It's such a good story. Blandman read it. Any thoughts on Joker 2 with Joaquin? I still haven't I haven't watched Joker 1. Love the work you and your team do to make such great videos. Well, thank you. That's very kind of you to say. It's a very intensive I guess process. That's the word I'm looking for. Especially this most recent one, that multiverse video. Wow. If you have not watched the multiverse video yet, watch the multiverse video. Oh my god. It says that the average view is 10 minutes long. It's a 45-minute video. If you've only watched 10 minutes of it, you're missing a lot. Still mad about the John story. Yeah, that one's kind of fucking weird. Literally doing this instead of reading. It's ain't that the way it goes? Let's see. I've been saying the same exact thing for years. It's just like switching artists on a comic. Exactly. I wish Jack Nicholson could make a return to the Joker role like what Willem Dafoe did with Green Goblin, but his health issues make it unlikely. That would always be cool. So nice, I watched it twice. I've watched it like 3 or 4 times, I think. Did you guys fly out to do filming this time? So, with the multiverse video, James lived... We filmed it while I was still living in Seattle. And James lived in Oregon. Like, he lives 30 minutes up the road from me nowadays. Because I moved to Oregon after the fact. And so we came down from Seattle to Oregon. We just drove here, and we filmed all of that in James' living room on a green screen set. And a lot of the so many of those shots, it's literally just one of us in front of a green screen. Even if we're interacting with if I'm interacting with James, it's still James is on a separate green screen than I am, and then he composited on top of it. The fact that it works as well as it does is fucking incredible. I am just shocked by it. I think the only ones that we recorded on the same green screen were the Earth J versions of us, but anything that had costuming done with it was just a situation of, okay, put the costume on, do everything that your character does in the whole video. Okay, go switch costumes kind of situation. But Ted did fly out here, though. Not for the multiverse video. He's not in that one. But in the finale, Ted shows up. And I think he's also in the Poison Ivy one for a little bit, but I don't remember specifically. If you're telling me avoid. Yeah, surprise. Who would have guessed? Gotta respect the production value. Yeah, James spent over 300 hours editing that video all by himself. It's fucking ridiculous. Bloopers. We have discussed putting out a blooper reel. We do want to put out as much behind the scenes footage as we can for all of these story videos. I'm not sure what the process is going to be for that, or like where we would put it, if it would be a Patreon exclusive, or we've actually we're in talks with a couple creators that work with Nebula to see about getting us on there. So that might be a place we end up putting it. I'm not sure what the goal or the means of doing it would be, but we have discussed it. Let's see. Where were we? Let's see. Did that make it easy to go and do different versions like Batman Beyond and Justice League? Once you'd broken the mold, did you figure we can only carry over what we want and cut the fat? Tim says, well, we get bored if we do something for too long, and it's not just that we get bored, but when you're doing a new show, you don't want to just do what you did last time. You always want to change what you did up a bit and freshen it up. Each show has its own quirks. Batman was one thing, and Superman was a little bit different, and the new Batman Adventures was a little bit more different. And when we did Batman Beyond, we had to change the styling of the show and the color palette. Every show is somewhat unique stylistically. To read what Bruce Timm had to say about Justice League Unlimited and what's in store for the rest of the season, new episodes return on February 11th on Cartoon Network. Pick up a copy of Wizard number 173 from your local comic book shop, or click here to order through our online store. Let's order through their online store. Oh, it's a beautiful store they got there. All right, well, that's the end of the Bruce Timm video. Ooh, Danny got Nebula today. You'll have to let me know how it is. I've thought about getting it, but I don't know. I feel like I've already got enough streaming services as it is. You might already know this, but someone made an edit for Brainiac Attack using Corey Burton's lines from the Dcau. I think I've heard about that. Yeah. Okay, well, that's the end of the Bruce Timm interview. We've been going on like 2.5 hours now. Wowee. I think I might just go ahead and call it for the day. It was good hanging out with you all. Zack, don't worry about sending me that message. I am remembering. I just wasn't sure if I would. So I'll go in the back end and see if I can figure out what the issue was with all of that. But yeah, y'all have a splendid afternoon, and I will hopefully see you all again soon, and we can hang out, have fun, read more comic magazines and stuff along those lines. Peace out. I love you all. Mwah.